While many DCU projects have already started production, Brave and the Bold is unfortunately not one of them, and Batman still remains to be cast. However, that's where fans like us come in to discuss who we think should be the next Caped Crusader. For this casting, I'll be considering only the ages 35 through 50, since that is where Batman appears to be in his career by the fact that he has presumably gone through Dick Grayson, Jason Todd, and Tim Drake already. I will also not be taking into account people who currently are or have played Batman, except for one special case I will get onto later. So, without further ado, let's talk about my 8th favorite Batman fan cast, Tom Bateman. Alright, so I've seen a lot of support for this guy online to be Batman. Personally, I have quite a few reasons why for me it just doesn't work. He doesn't really register as Batman to me. You know, like when I hear Tom Bateman or see him or see any of his work, I just don't think or feel Batman. He doesn't like put that thought into your mind. Like you wouldn't think, oh yeah, that's Batman. You know, when I see Henry Cavill, I'm like, oh yeah, that's Superman. But for Tom Bateman, it's more like, so it doesn't really work there. But I do not think that I'm fully qualified to say that because I actually haven't really seen his work. So if you have seen a lot of Tom Bateman, please tell me down below in the comments and what your thoughts would be if he got cast. Personally, not a huge fan of it, but if he got cast, I'd be fine with it. I wouldn't be complaining. Now he is a pretty good age. I believe he's 35, and he probably has the acting chops. But just because he has that doesn't make him my number one pick, because a lot of people on this list will have the acting chops to play Batman, but that doesn't mean that they should. You'll see what I mean when we get to more. But speaking of that, let's go ahead and move on to number 7, which is Brandon Sklenar. Alright, now I was talking about earlier how Tom Bateman doesn't really have that look or that feel. This guy, he's got the look, okay? He has got the look, alright? When I look at this guy, I can see him in the cape and cowl playing Batman, talking to Superman. Personally though, similar to Tom Bateman, I have only seen him in one film, and that's Midway, so I'm also not fully qualified to talk about him, even though I know he's a huge fan cast. I've seen a few scenes with him from people like, oh, this guy should play Batman, here's why, and they show a scene, and that's one of the reasons I don't think he'd be a bad Batman. Just not one of my personal favorites. He just doesn't have that, feel Batman has, I'd imagine. I don't know. Maybe he does it and it'd be the best Batman we've ever seen. But we can't know for sure. I promise that the further we move down this list, the more I know about each actor. So don't worry, I'm not super inexperienced, not knowing anything. These are just my least favorite guys to pick. Alright, number 6, and I feel like because I put this person so low on the list, a lot of you are gonna leave me, but Bill Skarsgard. This guy is a huge fan cast right now, and he's been in many films. He's a pretty popular actor. He's been in The Crow, and he also been in both It films where he played Pennywise. And he's also a great age at 34. I know I said I only be considering 35, but he would be 35 by the time of filming, so I'm not really that concerned of it. He's also 6'4" height, which you would think more actors that people are fan casting would have, but you'd be surprised. But still, the only reason I put him so low is he doesn't look like Batman to me. Now, I know a lot of actors aren't going to look like the characters they play, obviously, but when we're just fan casting and making assumptions, looks are an important thing to go off of. I know makeup and all that will be put on him to make him look better if he did get cast, but still, based on what I have to see to consider from him as Batman, he's not my number 1 pick. He's my number 6 pick. But now we get to move on to some of the people who I really want to be Batman, and that I know a bit more about. But firstly, I have a question for you guys. What would your thoughts be on Henry Cavill as Batman? The reason I don't have him on the fan casting is because I don't think James Gunn and Peter Safran would ever do that, or Henry Cavill would. But still, he looks like Batman, because Superman and Batman actually kind of look like each other, especially in animated stuff. And he definitely can act like that. I mean, I'd rather him play Wolverine, but still, not on the list, and that's what we're here to talk about. So let's move on to number 5, and this is someone who I really want, and that is Scott Adkins. First off, this guy is a phenomenal action star. And that's one of the things we need for this Batman, in my opinion. A lot of the Batmans, we've seen them fight, and it's cool and whatnot, but I want like a really action Batman, one who can fight super well, but almost in a Jackie Chan way, to where he fights them but doesn't really like super injure them like he does in BVS. But still, I want Batman who can fight like that. Very skilled, very quick, very entertaining to watch. And not a fight scene I forget about, like the one in Dark Knight Rises on that one rooftop, which you probably had erased from your memory. And yeah, this guy, he's one of the best to be able to throw punches like criminal. He was the main character in all 3 Undisputed films. However, he does have a few flaws. He is 48, which is the oldest actor on this list. It's not 50, which was the absolute max, but still, think about it. He'll be around 50 by the time of filming. All right, number 4 though, and this is Jake Gylenhaal. He has appeared in a lot of films. I'm sure you've heard of at least one. This guy, you can't argue with the fact that he's talented. Like, he's a great actor, very famous for his work. But just because you're a super talented actor does not mean you're super talented for the role of Batman. And that's something I believe. I mean, he's been in a lot of good films. He can act really well. It's just, for Batman, I'm a bit skeptical, you know? I mean, I'd be happy if he got cast. Like, good job. Like, that, he deserves it. I think he'd do great. It's just not my top pick, especially for a character of this size in a cinematic universe. Alright, number 3. This guy's played a few comic book characters, however, mostly Marvel ones, and that is Aaron Taylor Johnson. He's been in quite a few popular films as well. He's actually going to be playing Kraven in the new movie. And this guy, speaking of that, he looks like Batman. Like, when I look at this guy, I can see him as Batman. And like Scott Adkins, I believe he would excel in fight scenes. He's been in a few action movies, and also, you know, Kraven's fight and what we've seen from the trailer. He looks like he's pretty good at fighting. So if we could see Batman pulling some punches and stuff and moves, I think that'd be great. And so he would excel that. However, a big flaw I have with him, and this isn't a huge flaw, we've had shorter Batmans in the past, he's only 5'11", which is pretty tall, but still, compared to like David Cornsweet, like, we don't want Batman to stand around another superhero and be like shorter than them, though we do have to counter in the fact that his ears will make him look taller in the boots and whatnot, so he probably won't look that bad compared to other heroes. It's just, we know, we want that 6-footer Batman, if you know what I mean. No, but I think Aaron Taylor Johnson would be a great Batman. Alright, number 2. This guy was my number 1 for so gosh darn long. But in the recent times, I've moved into number 2, and that is Alan Ritchson. Now, this guy's actually already been in a bunch of DC projects, not as Batman, but like he was in Titans, and in Smallville, he was Aquaman, which I think he'd be a great Aquaman, but this video is about Batman, not about Aquaman, so let's get back to him as Batman. He's got the build and fighting chops. I know I just been saying this recently for a bunch of people, but that's important. I mean, him and Reacher, like, that's his most iconic role in my opinion, I think, right now. And he's obviously done great in that as an action star. And so that guy as Batman would be phenomenal. So I could definitely see him in the suit as Batman. I can see him having a relationship with other heroes, with the Bat family. If you saw this guy beating up criminals in an alley, you wouldn't even have to see the bat signal. You just run, okay? This guy, he is intimidating. He's big, but he also kind of has that feeling to where you can trust him for the Bat family. The only thing that makes me hesitant is his Bruce Wayne, because, you know, he really has to put on that playboy persona. I mean, I don't think he'll be as good as, like, Christian Bale, but that's a really high standard to put someone up to, so we'll look past that. Alright, but number 1, I'm sure plenty of you expected this, it's Jensen Ackles. Alright, so this is the exception I was talking about at the very beginning of the video, if you remember me talking about that. He has played Batman before. He voiced them in animated films like The Long Halloween. However, I don't think James Gunn will count that, because I feel like James Gunn's only really counting live action Batman, not voice actors. So I feel like he would be fine with letting Jensen Ackles play him. I personally really want him to play Batman, of course. He's my number 1. And I think he'd be just perfect for that. He's also played Soldier Boy in The Boys, and he's not as big as Alan Ritchson or as known for fighting as some of the other people on this list, like Scott Adkins. However, he's experienced with playing a hero, maybe not the best hero, but a hero, so he could do Batman. He's got the build, like I said. And the only slight issue I have is he's 46, but like 46 isn't as old as 48 or anything. The only reason I bring it up is because this is a cinematic universe going on for 10 plus years, and so it's something to keep in mind when you're casting. We wouldn't want him to, like, this would never happen, but get sick and then die during the filming of a movie. So he'd be fine though. He's only 46, which isn't that old. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. If not, then I'm surprised you made it all the way through. Subscribe, please, and I will see you in the next one.